It's officially time to kick off our F1 MyCareer mode here with the 2020 season set to kick off here from Albert Park for the Australian Grand Prix. Our Formula 1 debut coming with the Renault F1 team, as our expectations are to kind of command the midfield with myself and veteran teammate Daniel Ricciardo as we were getting ready to head on the track.
Okay mate, I know you're excited to get going, but we need you to get out of the car. They've just cancelled the entire weekend.
Okay, yeah. Funny one. What are we on, mediums here?
I'm serious, Gary. The pandemic has reached the paddock. Get out of the car. Sorry, mate.
Our debut gets cancelled before it even begins. The entire season was put on hold and into a standstill along with other sports all across the globe.
2 seconds. 5
As
seconds.
we would see everyone resort to streaming. We had the likes of George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon, Lando Norris, and others all taking on streaming until we knew what was going to happen with the remainder of the 2020 season. News would come out. The season was condensed down to 16 races, and we were just waiting to get behind the car here in this beautiful black and yellow Renault. Love this livery and excited to get behind the wheel, and we officially got confirmation that we would be getting behind the wheel going into the Austrian Grand Prix to kick off a new 16 race calendar, of course shortened due to the just tight scope of the season that is, or rest of the year that we have available. But we've got a couple of double headers in Silverstone as well as Bahrain, and unfortunately we will not be on the western side of the globe, meaning we won't get my home race in my rookie season, the Canadian Grand Prix. And I try to keep this as similar to the real life schedule that turned out to be, of course, with the pandemic. And now it was finally time to at least head into our first weekend in Austria a few months later.
Great, you're done with the technician's briefing. Look, I know we've got a lot to get through in FP1, but Will Buxton's been pushing for a quick interview before you head out on track. Don't worry too much, he's a good lad. He's just over there. These media appearances are important for a few reasons. They'll help build your profile and your brand. Plus, your team will get a real boost to their motivation if they hear you praising them. Will, as promised, sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, mate, not a problem at all, not a problem.
Look, we've got to be out on track in about 5 minutes for FP1, so we can only spare you a couple of minutes max. Is that going to be enough time?
More than enough, we're already set up. Cool, let's go. We're used to seeing rookies in Formula 1 every year. This season, there's a youngster that's arrived with perhaps a little more interest in them than usual. And that's because while they've been successful at every level of their career from karts all the way through to Formula 2, they've somehow managed to stay pretty much under the radar. They don't have that luxury anymore though. They're in Formula 1. Millions of people around the world watching their every move, both on and off the racetrack. So let's take some time to get to know them a little bit better.
So tell us a little about yourself. What's the thing you're most excited about being here in Formula 1?
Definitely the competition. The other drivers are really going to push me to my limits this year.
After your successful junior career, you must have had a lot of interest. What drew you to sign for your current team?
Honestly, Will, this car has one of the best chassis on the grid. I honestly really think it suits my driving style.
What would you say is going to be the biggest challenge for you this season?
Honestly, I'd say getting orientated. You know, you have to hit the ground running in F1, otherwise you're going to be struggling to catch up to everybody else all season long.
Really appreciate your time, but I know you're very keen to get on. Best of luck out there.
This first race of the season is always quite difficult for us trackside, and for those back at the factory as well, as it's the first time the car has run since winter testing. The more consistent mileage you can get in these sessions, the happier we'll be.
So, finally, we're behind the wheel and unleashing our Renault for free practice 1, officially on track for the first time this season. The season was delayed, it was restructured, it was condensed down to 16 Grand Prix, but now we are officially on track and driving, and we would kick things off here in FP1 with the race strategy program, and just trying to kind of, get my, just get the confidence up, get the comfortability up, as I always praise in just about every game that we do here in the F1 series, and really was just trying to get used to playing an older game. Of course, F1 2020 is such a great game to play, and of course regarded as, one of the top F1 games of the last decade, maybe the best F1 game of the last decade. So this series is going to progress from F1 2020, and we're going to go season by season through F1 2021, and then we're going to actually jump straight to F1 23 because we can mod the 2022 cars into the F1 23 game, and then we're basically going to use the 23 game for beyond that point. So we're going to go through 2022, 23, 24, 25, 26, beyond that, so on and so forth, as long as we possibly can go, and make this MyCareer series the most immersive experience you can get watching a Formula 1 career mode here on YouTube. I am so excited for you guys to see what I've got planned. You're going to see elements that I bring in from the F1 25 career mode into this one as well, and vice versa. You'll see elements that maybe I bring into this career mode that I'm going to as well take over into the F1 25 career mode here, as you can see where we ended up in Free Practice 1. 2019 F2 champion Nicholas Latifi, dead last, one of the rookies of the year contenders that we're going up against, and of course, fellow Canadian. And here we are, Saturday, headed into our first qualifying session with this number 97 on this car, and not exactly sure what to expect, but it seems like this Renault has some solid speed, and especially from my teammate of Daniel Ricciardo. I'm not necessarily expecting to outpace him here in quali in my first attempt, but I would certainly like to be relatively close to him. And here we are in Q1, finding some decent pace, actually. It was my first lap on the softs, and overall was putting together a solid lap as we come around the final couple of corners there. One of the Ferraris pulling off into the pit lane. Going to be exciting to see what some of these teams, of course, are going to have this season, as we would go P12, and that would actually be enough. And you can see right there, I can't actually show the final results of Q1 because I accidentally double-clicked the advance button and skipped right through into Q2, so that's why I kind of came to a bit of an abrupt end. But we made it to Q2, and that lap was good enough. So we were P12 at the end of qualifying 1, and here in Q2, I would come around the final couple of corners, and my teammate of Ricciardo currently in the top 10. What I was going to put up wasn't going to be enough. It's going to be P11, and it wouldn't quite stick for P11, as it would end up P12, losing one spot. Myself, Lando Norris out, Pierre Gasly, as well as Daniel Kvyat and Roman Grosjean all out in Q2. Both the racing points in, with Stroll as well as Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen at the top, as we'll head into a bit of a wet Sunday for our first race of our Formula 1 career to kick off, finally, this 2020 season.
No more testing, no more practice. This is the real deal, and it's make or break here at round 1 of this year's Formula 1 World Championship. It's a short lap here in Spielberg with just 10 corners, 7 rights and 3 lefts, making up the total distance of 2.6 miles. And expect to see a lot of cars running wide today, especially through the last corner, as the wet conditions make the cars skittish through the downhill sections. Here we are then, Formula 1 in 2020. The fight for the World Championship all starts here today. Mercedes on the hunt for a 7th consecutive title. They'll have Ferrari and Red Bull to contend with along the way. Williams struggled to find their feet last year. They'll be hoping for a stronger start this time around. And what I wonder of the Renault-powered cars. Will they be able to step forward, maybe even onto the podium on a regular basis? Plenty to discuss then with Anthony Davidson. He's out of hibernation too, and alongside me in the commentary box once again.
It's good to be back, Crofty. Let's hope for some good racing today. We can't know at this point how competitive these teams are relative to each other, but hopefully nobody is able to run and hide. We want to see these drivers pushing to the limit all the way to the checkered flag.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Sebastian Vettel and Albon. Leclerc, Ricciardo, Stroll and Carlos Sainz. Norris, the Rainmaster, Pierre Gasly and Kvyat. Grosjean, Raikkonen, Kevin Magnussen and Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Not exactly the conditions we want to see in our first race in Formula One, our debut. But, I mean, we're going to make the most of it. And, yeah, I mean, it's going to dry up. We'll be starting on the intermediates. It's not a complete washout. But, yeah, it's just going to be all about kind of, you know, being patient here and just kind of surviving the first little bit of this race now. And I'm confident we can have ourselves a respectable finish from this 12th starting spot. Now, getting ready to go for the formation lap to kick off our Formula One career. This is going to be exciting as we, of course, are going up against just only Nicholas Latifi for Rookie of the Year. 2 Canadians. Who's going to be able to come out on top of that battle? Latifi won the Formula 2 championship. We really closed up the title to him in the closing parts of that season, as you saw from the prologue after a slow start to our rookie season. Now, though, headed to the grid and ready to go racing. It's a Mercedes front row lockout. Does Valtteri Bottas have anything for Lewis Hamilton into turn number 1? Here we go. Lights out. The 2020 season is underway after a multi-month delay. Valtteri Bottas brought the fight in qualifying. Hamilton tries to stick it up the inside. In the background, one of the actually AlphaTauris absolutely sent it into turn 1 and was even able to pass myself, but Valtteri Bottas hangs on out of turn 1 in a contract season. His contract is up at the end of this 2020 season, and you have to wonder if George Russell is going to potentially take over his ride in 2021. As for myself, we've dropped down a little bit here on the start and have gone nowhere. I mean, look at this stack up right on my nose. We slide right there. We started P12. We're down to 15th. Not really the first couple of corners that I was looking for as we dropped down 3 positions. So not what we wanted, but you know what? We kept the nose clean. That was kind of the main part. Norris as well. He was a victim to that poor start. He really dropped as well. Kevin Magnussen's gone forward. Pierre Gasly, of course, after the failure at Red Bull last season in 2019, here he is, of course, with AlphaTauri trying to show, hey, I still belong here now. And of course, the big question is, what can Alex Albon do now? His first full season right here with this Red Bull Racing team. He'll be going up against Max Verstappen. Of course, we'll wait and see what he is able to pull off over this season as well. You got to wonder what Lando Norris can do here in his second full-time season in Formula One. Of course, as well, George Russell, his second full-time season, and same for Alex Albon, of course, who's really quickly gotten that Red Bull promotion. And of course, Antonio Giovinazzi last season was his first full-time season. He as well had some starts previously, but it's going to be exciting to see what those drivers can do in their second full-time seasons. Meanwhile, myself and Latifi both in our first full-time as we try to prove that we belong here now, and we had to fight hard. We had to be able to prove that we were willing to be aggressive enough and do whatever it takes here to make it to Formula One now. We kind of built up a bit of an aggressive reputation, especially towards the tail end of the F2 season, and that's something we're going to have to continue to work on to show that, hey, I mean, I'm aggressive, but I know how to race. And as well, there you see Lando Norris looking up the inside of K-Mag there in the Haas. Norris kind of struggling right now for pace. I think he's got a pretty fast car, but now suddenly we're going to try and maybe go 3 wide up towards turn 3 with Magnussen. I'm going to back out, think a little bit better of it here. It is raining at the end of the day. Don't want to do anything silly, but Lando Norris, he's going to be able to get the pass done. Norris through on Magnussen, who's going to try and fight back, but just doesn't have enough. Norris completes the overtake. That puts him back into P13 as we now are going to try and be the next one kind of in line to be able to go after Magnussen, as we're currently in a Haas sandwich. You got Grosjean, the Frenchman, there behind us in P16 now as we continue to watch Lando Norris drive off in the distance here. Lap 5 of 36 at this point. Now, I've noticed F1 2020, when it's raining, the game, it feels so much darker than the current day games like F1 23, 24, and 25. But I like it because, you know, when it storms, it gets dark, and I felt like as well the most recent games, it's too bright when it's kind of stormy. So nonetheless, we continue to pressure Kevin Magnussen here over the next few laps now to lap 6, and really struggling at a turn 3 for grip, but I'd started to kind of get it down, and instead of going down to second gear, I was going down to only third, and that was making a pretty good difference for myself here for grip. So I definitely am starting to learn a little bit more here about this car as we continue on, but my pace compared to my teammate of Daniel Ricciardo a little bit off here this first weekend, but now looking for maybe a move into turn 4 on Magnussen. Not quite close enough right there, as we'll just continue to wait for the right opportunity to strike here as we come to lap 9 at this point, and Norris has run down the next car in front of him, which is starting to hold him up a little bit. It might be one of the AlphaTauris it is now. As you can see, we continue to slip and slide, so we continue to have to wait for the right opportunity. It's really going to come down to just keeping the rears from slipping around and just having that grip to be able to launch us. And here we go. Maybe right here, a chance to go after Magnussen on the run into turn 3. We'll dive up the inside. He outbrakes us, but now we outbrake him at the very end. We get alongside, avoid contact there. We'll continue side by side. He's not going to give this up easy. It's Kevin Magnussen we're talking about here as he clears us, but we use the slipstream. We pull back at a line. We're going to go into turn 4, wheel to wheel once again, and we're going to slice across his nose. We take the position, and that's our first official pass of our Formula 1 career. Was on good old Kevin Magnussen here on the 10th lap of 36 in this Austrian Grand Prix. Hopefully many more overtakes to come in our F1 career. Lando Norris is stuck behind Daniel Kvyat here in that AlphaTauri, so that was actually allowing me to reel these guys in, and by the time it came to lap 11, the rain had officially come to an end, so it's not going to be long until we come into the pits. In this generation of F1 games, it went from wet to dry really, really quick. So I knew we were going to be boxing within a couple of laps here, and we come to lap 13 at this point, and you can see Norris still cannot get past Daniel Kvyat, and that's opened the door for me to reel these guys right in. Still spray coming off of these green stripe alternate compound of tires. You look on the track map, Bottas, Hamilton 1-2, they've driven away from everybody right now. Leclerc currently in P3 as he continues to try and put the fight head-to-head against the 4-time world champion of Sebastian Vettel. Does Ferrari have what they need for this season to finally get back to the top step of the world championship standings? Certainly doesn't look like it. As DRS is enabled, that's our sign. It's time to come into the pits now. We're going to be boxing this lap. Some drivers are going to double stack, some teams are going to double stack, some teams won't. Renault is a team that's going to take the opportunity here to double stack. So Ricciardo comes in, I'm going to come in as well. The leader of Valtteri Bottas comes in, but Lewis Hamilton, he remains on the racetrack, so he is going to go an additional lap. But for myself, we are definitely going to be coming in here because we've got as well a pretty substantial gap between myself and my teammate of Daniel Ricciardo. By the time I come into my pit box, he is going to be long gone, so it's not really going to affect us too much here. So we come in, and we're just looking for a solid pit stop. It's going to be a 2-stop strategy from here. Everyone's doing the same strat. We're going to put on a fresh set of softs, and then we're going to pit again later for another fresh set of soft tires. Actually, I had to wait a little bit there, so I got a bit held up, and unfortunately that's going to cost us a little bit of time, but we'll rejoin the racetrack. Nicholas Latifi still out there on the inters as we find ourselves currently in the 16th spot. Now it's, about finding that pace again, and honestly, I'm really, actually excited about this debut because, just a changing weather conditions kind of debut for Formula 1. You're kind of getting the variables of what can happen in this sport, thrown at you immediately, and I think these are good learning opportunities for a rookie. As you can see, Latifi now comes into the pits, Kimi Räikkönen as well, coming into the pits now, his second season with Alfa Romeo, of course, after getting dropped at Ferrari for Charles Leclerc to come in that 2019 season now. And we talked about Vettel and Leclerc, that dynamic, those two kind of going head-to-head. They haven't necessarily fully gotten along as they have both been very competitive running around each other here, so it's going to be interesting to watch that dynamic play out in their second season together. Vettel is in a contract season as well, so we'll see what comes out of that. Grosjean, mechanical failure in the Haas now, and big contact. Kimi Räikkönen's just plowed into the back of him, and he's torn his front wing up as Grosjean's out. Virtual safety car is going to be deployed, and that's going to slow the pace down to a bit of a crawl as we will patiently wait that out. and get ready to go back racing. No full safety cars, so we'll be back to racing within a lap here as we, sure enough, come towards the end of lap 17. We go back racing, as actually left a little bit of time there on the Delta to Lando Norris. That's going to benefit him. He's about 2.7 seconds down the road. Lance Stroll, he's a good 10 seconds down the road. P13, pretty happy with that. And unless something else happens, that's probably not going to change. We're pretty well on track for a 13th place effort today. We're going to need some help to do anything better than 13. Someone else is going to have some kind of problem because, yeah, just on pace, I don't have anything left. We are running down Lance Stroll a little bit here. Of course, the third Canadian on the grid that we haven't talked about. We got 3 Canadians on the grid. Of course, it was just one until this season with myself and Latifi, of course, join. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic and the schedule changes, we're going to have to wait an extra season to get our beloved home Grand Prix here in Montreal. So, well, we'll have to wait until the 2021 season. But of course, a shortened season, 16 races. It's crunch time. You got to fight hard. And I wanted 17 like the actual 2020, but obviously it was either 16 or 22. 16 is closer to 17, so I went with the 16 race season. We have Vietnam coming in race 2 of the season as well, which is a race we didn't get in real life. So that's going to be exciting to head there and do that Grand Prix, of course. Now, as you can see, Ricardo's in the pits, and so is a bunch of other drivers, as we're going to now overtake Ricardo, but we're going to be coming into the pits at the end of this lap, and I would expect Lando Norris, who's about 2.5 seconds up the road, will be pitting as well. Norris actually opens up the gap over this lap to about 3 seconds, but outside of that, he hadn't really driven away from me very much, as we're going to come in approaching 10 laps to go to make our second and final pit stop of the day. Ricardo going to go around my outside, almost ran into the back of me actually now, as we're right on the grass right there on both the right and left side, as we'll get down to pit speed. And now we will come in for our final stop, and we'll get another fresh set of softs on this Renault. And Lando Norris, he's already long gone. See you later. We're going to get out just behind him, on track for that 13th position. But something that happened you didn't notice is when Lando Norris was pitting, Sebastian Vettel actually ran into the back of Lando Norris because Vettel had just pitted that lap before, came out behind the McLaren. Look at this, on board with Seb, the 4-time champ, runs into the back of him, damages the front wing. He's going to have to come back around. We said if we're going to gain spots, we're going to need something to happen. Well, we've gotten it. Vettel has to pit for a new wing. We pass him for P12. How about that now? Now, as we come through turn 1, we find ourselves in a pretty good spot here, back to where we started basically now. So we've made a good journey back forward to get to our starting position. Can we do anything more than that now? His teammates in the pits, Daniel Ricciardo, he's come into the pits, and now I'm wondering what's happened there. Has he hit somebody? Maybe, did he hit Sebastian Vettel when Vettel was coming into the pits? The answer is yes. Look at this, Vettel coming into pit to fix his wing. Oh, Ricciardo, who's having a great run, runs straight into the back of him as he was in front of Albon and Leclerc, but of course no more. We now overtake Ricciardo and move up into P11, and that's going to mean, unless something else happens, it's going to be a pointless day for this Renault team. And I wasn't going to score points, but Ricciardo certainly was. He was on track to be well inside the top 10, but instead now we are P11 and P13. Not exactly what we wanted, but we continue to march forward. Pierre Gasly 5 seconds up the road. Lando Norris is about to run him down and pass him in the next lap or two, as next time around will be 5 laps to go here from the Austrian Grand Prix. Coming to the tail end, let's go through the grid as Valtteri Bottas commands this race.
How about Bottas kicking off our return in dominant fashion? He's been untouchable all weekend as Lewis Hamilton continues to chase him from second.
Lewis isn't far off. He's stabilised the gap for the most part. I'm sure, however, he would have loved to start off this season just a tad bit better.
It's an interesting dynamic, of course, now that we only have 16 races this season instead of the original 22. A lot less time available for drivers to make up points throughout this season.
It's a shame we're losing all the races on the west side of the globe this year. No Montreal, no Cota, Mexico or Brazil. Great tracks that I hope we have back next season.
Bad timing for the 2 new rookies of Owen and Latifi, being both Canadians. Latifi won the F2 title last year after holding off a hard-charging Owen in the last part of the season.
And it looked like Owen was going to get him, but he just dropped the ball a bit in that final race and paid the price for it. He built a bit of a reputation for being over-aggressive, but it always worked for him. And I'm curious to see if he continues that style into F1.
How about Valtteri Bottas? He has been in complete control here in this Austrian Grand Prix all weekend long in the return to Formula One action from the multi-month hiatus due to the season being canceled originally, of course, but of course everything kind of worked out and we're back racing here in a very different type of schedule. But Valtteri Bottas is bringing the fight to Lewis Hamilton, the 6-time champ, trying to become 7 this season. Bottas saying, hey, I'm in a contract year. I need to prove I belong right here at Mercedes, because he knows George Russell is waiting in the wings of Toto Wolff at Williams to get a ride potentially as soon as 2021. So he needs to prove right off the bat that, hey, I'm the one that belongs in this car as we continue into the final moments of this Grand Prix. And I put my fuel into Rich because I was running down Gasly, who had been overtaken by Lando Norris, and we were really reeling him in. Not sure if there's maybe an issue with the AlphaTauri, but I can tell you we are certainly reeling him in. But we are going to probably run out of time as we're coming to 2 laps to go, and we have cut the gap all the way to 1.3 seconds to Pierre Gasly. Vettel still nearly 6 seconds back, Ricciardo over 9 seconds back. And as we approach now the final lap of this Grand Prix in our debut in Formula One, looks like we're going to be just a little bit short of getting to Gasly. If I can't be in the DRS range by the time we come into the final turn, it's not going to happen, and I'm really stretching it on fuel. You can see we don't have much extra fuel there in the bottom right, but as we come through to the start of the final lap, we would have to wait till the exit of turn 1 to get DRS. Just not close enough from the looks of it now. As you can see, a full second back, but we might just have something here. But unfortunately, I can't put my fuel into Rich. There's just not enough at this point. And how about this guy? Valtteri Bottas rounds the final turn, kicks off the season with the win. That's career win number 8 for Valtteri Bottas now. What a start to the 2020 season.
Valtteri, congratulations, mate. Thanks, that was cool.
You hear the radio from Valtteri Bottas, pretty calm, cool, and collected for us. It's going to be just short of scoring a point in Formula One debut. Rounding the final turn, Gasly will hold on. P11 in our debut with Renault. We will absolutely take that. I mean, it didn't look like points were going to be in the cards, but we made it work. Sorry, guys. I would have loved to score you a point right there, but great work, everybody.
That was great, mate. Awesome drive. A lot to be proud of.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
How about it? Valtteri Bottas, top step of the podium. Lewis Hamilton, of course, alongside. I'm sure he's not too worried. We have seen Valtteri Bottas in previous seasons really kind of launch off to start a season better than anybody, and then Lewis Hamilton's always able to kind of come back strong. Max Verstappen as well on the podium in his quest to win a Formula One championship. As you see, how about Alex Albon there, P5, Sergio Perez for Racing Point, and his teammate Lance Stroll both in the top 10, both McLaren's Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris as well, scoring not podiums but points there, and of course the point standings are going to look the same, as you see Valtteri Bottas out front with an 8-point margin over his teammate of Lewis Hamilton. Next episode we head into Vietnam, new track on the calendar, should be an entertaining one. I'll see you guys then for round 2 of my Formula One My Career mode. Thank you for watching, have a great day.